G'day and welcome back to Action RC. Sometimes the podcast, sometimes the RC race media crew, where we get to tell stories about races, but sometimes we're here to build and review, have a look at some of the latest RC gear from around the world, and that's what we're doing today. We're here to have a look at this, the Schumacher CAT PB, the brand new four-wheel drive from the British manufacturer Schumacher. This is a company that goes right back to the early 1980s, and the first of their four-wheel drive chassis, the Schumacher CAT, the short wheelbase car, then the long wheelbase, followed on. Masami Hirosaka famously winning the World Championship in 1987, driving that car. And that was Schumacher at their best, going belt drive. The first of their belt drive four-wheel drives that went on through the Pro CAT, the Boss CAT, into the CAT 2000, the CAT 3000, and on and on and on they went. For years, for decades, belt drive was the way to win four-wheel drive races all around the world. So many world championships won by belt drive designed cars. And then came the shaft drive. Team Associated released the TC3, the first really competitive shaft drive touring car. Not too long after that, it started to be converted into an off-road car. J Concepts with the BJ44 taking world championships, Team Associated getting on board shortly after that. And so the tide began to shift from the early 2000s towards shaft drive. Not for Schumacher though, they continued, persisted with the belt drive platform, eking every last bit of performance out of it, until now, until 2025, when finally they had taken that platform, that drivetrain, that whole system as far as they could. It's in 2025 that Schumacher make the move from the belt drive platform that we see here in front of us that had carried on since 1986 all the way through to 2025. Finally moving to the shaft-driven platform, the brand new platform, the Schumacher CAT PB. Today we're just going to take a look inside the box, tell you what comes in it. When we come back for part 2 of this series, we'll be doing the build. We'll walk our way through the build, we'll look at what works and what doesn't, what are the little tricky, challenging parts in the build, and then of course we'll get on the racetrack a little after that. This video is coming from Australia. If you followed along the World Championships last year, you know what that means. We race outdoors on dirt. There's a couple of different dirt tracks not too far from me where we'll run this car once we've got it built, see what it's capable of. For now though, come with me, have a look inside the box. Let's take a look at what Schumacher ships with the CAT PB, the all-new platform. So this is the box, the Schumacher CAT PB. A reminder that this car comes in 2 different versions. The Mod Edition, designed for high grip surfaces like AstroTurf carpet, super high grip dirt maybe, and the CAT PB dirt spec. Of course in Australia we're running the dirt spec, so that's the one we've got here. Pretty typical presentation from Schumacher. I should say that the PB designation of this car PB standing for Phil Booth, legendary designer. All sorts of information on the box, all of the different setup and option components all around the outside of the box, but that's not what we're here for. Let's take a look inside. We've got here from Schumacher as we look inside the CAT PB. Typically Schumacher box things up and bag things up in individual build steps, and so that's exactly the way things have happened here. So we're not going to go inside each of the bags, but the first part of the build, this parts bag A, looks like all of the differentials. I've got some springs, so probably shock absorbers, shocks and diffs. They are the part of the build I hate the most, but that's where we're going to start when we get back to building this in a week or so. We then go inside parts bag B and we get to some of the chassis, transmission, and the beginning of some of the steering components. Lots and lots in there. I see transmission housings, chassis side rails, and so on. Top decks. The bag looks like we'll continue into parts bag number C, and this is where we get to putting the drivetrain all together into the car, suspension components, and steering. There's some pretty interesting little approaches to the steering system in this car, which we'll unpack a little further once we get to the build. So that's the third part of our build. And then the fourth part, finishing it all off, and here's the magic. Yep, this is where the drive shafts, the center drive shafts are that mark this as such a step change from the previous belt-driven iterations of the car. Anti-roll bars, those kinds of things, all of the finishing off components. What else have we got here? All of the carbon parts, top decks, shock towers, those kinds of bits and pieces. And then, as is typically the case for Schumacher, all of the little fluids that we'll need. So shock and diff fluids. Looks like we've got some thread lock and some grease for drive shafts, those kinds of things, all the fluids we need. I'm not sure about this one, folks. Yellow wheels. I think it is the case that the mod spec comes with white wheels, the dirt spec coming with these yellow wheels. Never been a huge fan of yellow wheels, but they have won some world championships. So maybe we'll see what kind of paint scheme we get on the body. Speaking of the body, that's it there, built and made for Schumacher by J Concepts, one of the world's leading body shell manufacturers. Nice, typical looking J Concepts body shell and wing. And then we get into the last few bits and pieces. The alloy chassis, that is the heart of the car. Nicely milled out for low centre of gravity, a little bit of flex, but that'll all be adjustable with different top deck components. So that's the chassis. Masking for the windows for the body shell, a sticker sheet, last little bits and pieces, some Velcro, and the instruction manual. That's the magic that we'll need to get into when it comes time for the build. All sorts of good information inside the manual and lots of setup information at the back of the manual as well. That's what's in the box. We can't wait to get started with the build. We'll just give you a couple of last thoughts before we go and get our tools ready and get started on the build. So that's what's inside the box, the Schumacher CAT PB, the Dirt Spec Edition. That's the one we'll be building. So that is the plan, folks. We're going to come back for part 2 of this series. We're going to build this car. We're going to put some electronics into it. Electronics coming to us from Mark 1 and Hobby Wing. Looking forward to getting some of those components into the car, getting the build done, showing you exactly what goes into building this brand new shaft-driven four-wheel drive off-road platform from Schumacher. And then part 3, of course, right at the end. Now that's where we're going to build and run this car outdoors on dirt. We're going to play with some setup. We've got some option parts from Schumacher as well that we'll have a look at putting into the car. We'll show you all of that in the build and in the run part. So come back for part 2 in a couple of weeks' time. We can't wait to get this car built and on track, the Schumacher CAT PB.